welcome at this session. My name is from ArcelorMittal. Brandon is my colleague working from Newcastle. He's the engineer there. He and him will take you through the role of CCI initiatives in talent retention. We want this session to be interactive, so please don't wait for us to finish the presentation. If you feel you want to intervene and speak in between, please do so we can have a fruitful session this hour. As we've seen inside, we believe that employees are a company's most valuable asset, not like the comic says on the board, sell it. ArcelorMittal, and I think every company don't want to sell their assets. But I mean, if you look at profitability, a company cannot go on or exist if it's not for a human capital. So they will be responsible for quality product, on-time delivery, customer satisfaction, profits, and then also share value or shareholder value add. So we must try everything in our ability to engage these people, because it costs a lot of money to train and develop them. And the longer they work for an organization, the better they become and the better their output. So in the current business landscape, is changing continuously, and the macro and micro environment causes a lot of uncertainty, and that causes people to change jobs. But the things that we currently sit with is the political environment. If you just look at what's happening in the mining houses, all the strikes, which impact severely on the business and which make a business unstable. Economical factors, the financial crunch that we went through a while ago, and still the economy didn't recover. In the social environment, technological, we've seen how technology changed over the times, and to keep our people abreast of technology. I mean, if you look in the bakery environment, and the analogy that I'm going to use is an old coal stove. I grew up when I was little in the farm, and nobody could bake a cake like my grandmother. She had a coal stove, and then when she put her hand in the oven, she said, we will just wait a little while. And then she will take it out and she will put that cake in, and I will tell you, nowhere in the world you will buy a cake or a tart or anything like that. In today's world, some of our factories, especially in the steel environment, we got old technology, and you got old skills, which is also, one of the challenges to say we have an aging workforce. The moment now you compete against a modern kitchen with the most modern kitchenware in the world, and stoves and all that stuff, and that is China. I mean, China got the most modern technology in the world, and we with a cost of need to compete against them. And once that skill is, those skills are gone, the aging workforce, you must make very good plans in order to compete. And then the technology is also changing at such a speed. You need young individuals. The older generation, like the baby boomers, some of them will develop with time, but some will. So that all has an impact in our skills. The environmental areas, especially the pressure of carbon tax that's going to be introduced, that put huge amount of pressure on companies. And then there's also a lot of legal stuff. So on top of these, more in the national skill shortages. Now, I think it's just a thing of you don't have the right skills for the jobs, because if you go into job market online or volunteer, all of these places, you'll see that there's thousands of jobs, but they don't have skill. Why is the unemployment rate so high in our country? I think there's a mismatch if you look at that. So we need to attract the correct talent in our companies, and we need to develop and stay abreast of technology, and we need to try and engage our employees. Now, for a company to exceed, you need human performance. Human performance is a function of motivation and ability in the environment where a person is working. And engagement and motivation is very closely related to each other. So if you can engage your employees, you will have a motivated employee. And then the ability, which is knowledge, skills, and attitude, you need to develop that. Then you will have human performance. So what we try to do is to engage people before they start working with the company, but we will get that to now. Now, a study has shown that that the war for talent is evidenced by an influx of the best place to work for. So a study done by the Forbes magazine, which ranked the world's 100 top reputable companies. The survey was done over 55,000 consumers over 15 markets, showed that 41% of how people feel about the company is based on their perception of the firm's social responsibility. So if a company is looking after the environment where they operate in, they will most probably also look after their people. They will feel proud to work for such a company. The study also shown that then less than 30% of your workforce are engaged, 29% in fact. And then 55% of employees are not engaged. And then 70% of employees are actually disengaged. So that is the bad apples in your box, which shouldn't be in a company. So we've got a very big challenge to engage employees and keep them positive. So as I said, so if you do that, this impacts on pride, overall satisfaction, willingness to recommend it as a place to work for, and their intention to stay. So we would say that CSI definitely adds to the bottom line.
I think before you maybe step on, someone quickly introduce myself. I'm Brenda Marie, and a quick introduction from Andre. Just if we look at this point here, studies found that 41% of the people feel about the companies based on the perception of the firm's with its social responsibility. If we really look at it, I think it boils down to your own value system as well. You've got a certain set of values, and there's a set of values portrayed by a particular company. Now, I think to really fit in properly into a company, there must be alignment between these value systems. And that's something I think also related to organizational fit. A lot of times you get people that they can actually do the work, they've got the hard skills, but they don't necessarily have the softer skills that it's really going to make them, like I say, want them to go the extra mile. So I think that's a very important point that's raised in this, and I think as we go on, we'll try to discuss this topic a bit more. But also talking about engagement, please, I think it's also good that everybody can engage into this discussion, and we would like to establish a dialogue here. So whatever you see on the slides, please, if you agree or disagree, please stop us at any time, and we'd like to hear your views as well. Okay, great. Okay, great. Then if we step over to the next slide, then is thanks a lot. So ArcelorMittal South Africa has identified 6 pillars in terms of influence in South African economy. And if we really look at how we want to attract and grow our talent pipeline, the first pillar then if we look at it's economic growth engine. First of all, ArcelorMittal contributes significantly to the South African GDP. So in order for us to create the necessary talent, we also need to still be competitive in the market. Okay. And then if we look at employer job creator and skill development, I'm not going to expand on this topic now. Andre will take us through that. The impact on local communities. That's I think a big step that the industry has got to take, and that's where you realize that your success as a company is really dependent on the local community in which you operate. Also, we have to realize that we have to operate according to the national agenda. So Africa sits with the highest Gini rating. That's a rating determining what's the severity of inequality or equality imbalance there. Okay. So what are you as a South African company trying to mitigate these inequalities then? Then if we look at the environmental footprint, so ArcelorMittal South Africa is then the third largest CO2 contributor in the country. And what is our stance on it? Personally, I work in that space. ArcelorMittal has taken a strong stance in saying, well, we're developing the necessary energy and carbon strategies. Obviously, there must be financial merit behind it, seeing that the carbon tax is on the table. However, there's also, again, the corporate social responsibility. Then if we look at the catalyst for change in South Africa, yes, I've already mentioned this Gini rating. Where's your responsibility? Is it really just going to be with your, I could say, company maximizing your earnings, or do you see the bigger picture and realizing that your success is very much dependent on the community, country, and planet in which you operate in? Okay, and then the last one is the enabler of South African development through supply of steel. So we all looked at the National Development Plan, and also recently ArcelorMittal has also been included, or steel has actually been included as a procurement minimum specification in the National Development Plan. So yes, government is also coming to party there. Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sam Alexander from the Pacific Institute. So if you take the pillar on the impact that you have on the local community, a company like ArcelorMittal, its local community is not where the factory is situated. The local community for an organization like ArcelorMittal goes way beyond that. The temptation by many such organizations is that they focus on the community from where they draw their workforce. But your footprint is so broad, you are truly South African in this context. And therefore, so that pillar there on being a catalyst for change in South Africa is a very appropriate one. That kind of pillar ensures that what is local to you is not local in the surround of the factories, but it's South Africa. So that you have to engage in the national debate of talent in our country.
So thank you for that comment, and I think also to expand on this, even though we've only got 4 plants working in Saldanha, Newcastle, Vienna, and Conrad, and then the chemicals section in Pretoria, we also have to look at it in a wider context, saying, well, we're not just the local factory. However, all our suppliers, all our contractors, they're not necessarily from our, I could say, geographical region. They extend beyond our borders. Also, if we look at when Andre and them go out for possible verses, they don't just go out and look in the town in which they operate. They really go nationally. So I think it expands our borders a bit there. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else that somebody want to add?
Okay, to come back on the skills development area, skills development are very, very important for ArcelorMittal South Africa. I'm going to focus on one area and just explain to you the process. So despite of all the clinics and schools and roofing projects that we are doing in the local community, we're also a job creator, and we also try to influence the national curriculum. Because as Arcelor said in the preliminary, that ArcelorMittal is a steel factory. So I don't know who of you visited the steel factory, except my colleagues that's here. It's not the ice cream factory, I must say. It's not sexy, it's dirty, and it's really, it's a place to work. It's really a place to work. But once you've got steel in your veins, you will have steel in your veins and you will stay at that company. Now, so what we try and do is try and engage the youngsters before they become employees of the company. Like we start at school level already. Currently, the school system doesn't support the youngsters in terms of career development. So one of my colleagues is sitting here at the back, Cecilia, they get in a bus and then they visit all the schools in the country. They go up to Limpopo, they go down to the Western Cape, they go to KwaZulu-Natal. And then they have career talks with the individuals to tell them what is engineering about. Now, we're specifically talking about engineering because we're a manufacturing company, so you will need production staff, artisans, technicians, engineers, but we also cater for the staff divisions like your finance, procurement, logistics, sales and marketing, communication, and that kind of stuff. So we start at school level already engaging these youngsters. We partake in career exhibitions, like the Sasol Techno X is a very big one in our region. where we engage. So we try to get people throughout South Africa and make them aware of ArcelorMittal and what the company is about. And then in the communities where we operate in, like in the Gauteng region and the Arcelor region and the KwaZulu-Natal and in the Western Cape, we have science centers because we've realized that the maths and science, as we've also learned from the preliminary sessions, is that it's most important in the engineering-related subjects, in engineering-related careers. So we engage with the Department of Education and Department of Higher Education. We have a seat with the Minister of Higher Education in terms of career advice into the national curriculum of South Africa. We present the company on college councils and the Metals board regarding education. Okay, so we realize that science and maths and English, because English is not the mother tongue of everybody. So you know, when I start speaking on the phone, people start speaking Afrikaans back to me. So I know my accent must be really terrible. But I mean, that has an impact when you learn. So what we do is we try and learn the youngsters from grade 10, English, computer science, maths and science. We use edutainers. Now, I don't know if it's educating while entertaining or entertaining while educating, but it's very effective experiments. Like for example, if you do physical science and you do gravity, you will have two tubes, one with two feathers in, one with a vacuum and one without a vacuum. And when you turn the tube around, you will see that the one feather will fall 9.81 meters per second and the other one will go that side. So that is how the science centers look like. So it's very interactive. Like y is mc squared, the formula for a linear line, you will tell them why do you need why do you need that formula? I mean, if you take it, the mass of water, a meter by meter by meter weighs a ton. And what happens if you got a pipe, which is the diameter of this room, and you just fully open that pipe? What is going to happen with the force? The volume of water that's going through. So you explain to them, why do you need to open a valve logarithmically and not linearly, or linearly, and I mean not straight up, open it fully. So that is what they do in the science centers. So that help our students that's coming out of the schools, matric level, grade 12, to have maths and science, they can speak English and they have computer literacy, which give them better marks. And it's not an artificial mark, because that artificial mark, we also see them. A child with an artificial mark in matric, 80% will go to university, and within 2 months that person will just fall out of the bus. The people that's coming from the science centers, they can go through consistently through the curriculum of engineering, and they're successful. We've got a very high success rate, so that is very important to us. So the science centers will then feed all our pipelines. So you can see we grow our own pipeline actually from grade 10 going forward, which is a huge social investment in the community. I mean, if you look at our training figures, the science centers 12 million rand for last year that we spent. Bursars at university and University of Technology is 19 million. The graduate in training program 68 million. Apprentices in production learners 62 million. So we make a huge investment and we train more than what the company is requiring. I mean, artisan turnover, we need about 75 a year. We got currently in the vicinity of 600 of them. So the people that we train over and above, we're also part of the Technical Skills Business Partnership, which is the 6 big companies in South Africa which actually came together to supply artisans for the country. So we really try to make sure in the South African context, as you've said, sir, that the skills that you can't use, at least you gave that person a qualification. You tell him, you can go in the market and you can find work. And they will remember ArcelorMittal because we didn't charge them anything. We actually give them a salary while they're training. Now, how do we make sure that once the person has passed school, a person that's coming from a previously disadvantaged area, that person will make university? We put down support structures. Our young engineers, and Brennan will elaborate on that shortly, is we have a forum in Newcastle, which they call the Young Professionals Forum, which is a combination of technicians and graduates in training together as engineers. And in Van Abou, we got the same one just with another name, but they call themselves the Electrical and Technician Association. So these youngsters are young professionals that came through this pipeline, which actually assist university bursars if they have problems in specific subjects. We give them the names of mentors, we give them the names of engineers, we give them the names of fellow students at university. So when you have troubles with a specific subject, go and ask, because also that is where you build your family and that teamwork and cohesion at university. And then we as a management team visit them twice a year, actually thrice. The first year get a special visit once they've settled in to see is all the accommodation being paid as they settle in, do they know what is the support network and so on. And then the more serious note, after the first semester we will visit the engineers first years and see how they go. And then this time of the year we do the second year university visits to make sure that the people are progressing well. We try and pick up problems. And before they go to university, between grade 12 and university, we also do brain profiling on them so that they understand how do they think, what study methods must they use in order for them to go through these programs. And then they also do vocation work. And the mechanical and electrical engineers will go to our engineering academy in Van Abou Park. They will have internal competition, break them up in teams, where they will build a pick and place machine, for example. They manufacturing the parts themselves. They do the automation, write the software, everything together, and then the teams compete in the new year, early in January, before they go back to university against each other to see whose pick and place machine is the best. So it's like conveyor belt and work, and the pick and place machine must pick up different things, one with a blue color and a red color, and select the red ones and put them in a red bin, and select the green or a blue ones and put it in a green or a blue. That is the type of thing that we try to do. And then after that, they will go into an intensive 2-year internship structured development program. We registered them at the Engineering Council of South Africa. And then after 6 years of training and intense developing, coaching, and mentoring, you will get our rising stars like my colleague here, like Brendan, and you will talk about his experience just shortly. But that is what we try to do, and that is what we like to train our technical people on. And we got the same programs for technicians, we got the same program for artisans, and we got the same program for production workers. So we take it very seriously.
A very interesting aspect that I believe you actually do. Arcelor is one of our clients. What you do is you also give those people the right to dream. Because very often people sit with a technical qualification, but they don't have the depth of thinking that is necessary to career their way through life. And I'm speaking about youngsters coming through that stream with a depth of emotional intelligence, because you find that people get employed, lots of engineers, etc., get employed, and there's no stability in their lives because they are not emotionally strong to deal with the vicissitudes of life. So what I've found also in ArcelorMittal is that element of helping them to think their way through life, because you move towards that which you think about. And if their thinking is focused, you have a better chance of having somebody in the organization that will be there for the long haul.
It's quite admirable in terms of what you guys are doing. One of the questions that I have, which is what we're struggling with, so whilst we pay a lot of attention to our graduates, our bursary students, how do you enable the line managers that receive this young, very dynamic, absolutely driven, highly energetic, and you have a line manager that says, no, you've got to get the basics in place before you can move up this career path? How do you enable your line managers to accommodate that generational gap in most cases?
Well, at first, every youngster, when they enter into the company after university, we assign them to a mentor and a coach. Okay? And then we do generational theory with the mentors and the coaches and the youngsters so that they understand each other. And then I think the blue sky would be to also get the line management involved. But as long as this young individual has somebody to go to that understand what is his needs, his or her needs, and the requirements, I think that helps a bit. But still, you got a problem. We had a case last week where typical of a generational thing and impact. The older people see it as disrespectful, and this youngster is just a knowledge seeker. So I think it's a challenge all over, but we try and resolve it with coaching and mentoring. And as I said, we've got a company which helps us with generational theory, which is actually very, very helpful.
Do you provide the coaching and the mentoring to the graduates or the young talent coming in, and then you train the, let's call it line managers then in the generational theory and how to deal with this ambition and energy and enthusiasm?
Yes, that is what we try to do. So the mentor will be there, to help this guy getting through the program and specific needs and so on, and assistance to fit into the team with the different generations and so on. But the coach would be more your technical assistance in training. Now I know if I say this, I'm on very thin ice, because coaching and mentoring, there's a big debate on what's the difference between. Because if I say a mentor, you're actually talking about the coach, But we say we keep it that way. Our coach is the specialist, but don't get a name confusion.
Yeah.
The mentor will take the coaching role, and the coach will take the mentoring role in the right context.
And then typically in terms of your mentors assigned or your coaches assigned, how many levels above this individual or years difference in age? Because if you take it too big, then the graduate or the young person coming in might not relate. But what have you found that's been the most successful identification of these mentors?
Okay, what we do is we do just to go back a little bit so that you just understand the context. We do a workforce plan. So our workforce plan has been worked out up to 2021. So we know exactly which engineers will retire when. So we will assign a new graduate to a specific plant. So if the senior guy in that plant is a youngster, 30, 35, he will be the coach or the mentor. If it's an older guy that needs to do skills transfer, it will be an older guy. But the person must be registered with the Engineering Council of South Africa. So it's not really age thing, it actually depends.
It's all based on your workforce plan.
Yeah, but then also we ask the mentors to be, it must be out of free will. We don't force our engineers. You must have a passion to transfer the skills to this youngster engagement. But maybe Brandon can comment on that, because in the Newcastle workforce, very stubborn, very old. So
No. Just a quick one to expand. You mentioned our line management, and if you look at ArcelorMittal, I think a lot of the line managers are becoming younger and younger as the older guys go out. So I think it becomes a lot easier for our younger people to try and relate to the line managers. And likewise, they realize the needs of the new people coming in. Okay, and then in terms of looking at, you mentioned at the beginning, they full of energy, they've got a lot of aspiration, they actually want to go and make a difference. However, but they first have to go through the basics. So we still take a firm stance on this and saying, well guys, you need to still know the basics. However, your time is not going to be entirely consumed by just knowing the basics. You've got free realm really to go into the area that you're assigned to, and really go look for exciting projects. And mostly I was fortunate when I started Mittal, I saw a few projects and I was given the opportunity to go ahead with it, with little guidance, but you find your way through it. And I must say it's also really attributed to, I think, a bit of a younger and more approachable line management structure thing. Yeah.
I've played the role of mentor a couple of times, many times over the last 10 years. I've been working at ArcelorMittal. One of the biggest challenges for me was people fresh from university. They have lots of energy, but they quite often, almost in 90% of the cases, don't know what they want. They don't know what they want with their career. And the challenge is you put them as closely as possible in an environment where they could flourish. But the need of the plant is immediate. We need talent now. We want people to work, and that sucks up this new talent into maybe a situation where they don't want to be. And that's often a challenge for me. Just to manage that from a mentoring point of view.
Well, that's the reason these youngsters have to be imbued with emotional intelligence because they need to cope with those aspects of life. Because you know there is a level of dreaming and envisioning and wanting to be, and when you get into the role, that role downsizes you to a degree, but it must never dampen the dream to excel.
Yes, sir. To add on that, when you spoke about emotional intelligence, even the cultural intelligence as well, because we are working with investors, we are doing their mentorship program. Most of the time we have a program on how a young black talented man from university connecting with this, experienced white person, you find a cultural issue being in the program. And that is why, do you experience the same thing?
Yeah.
If yes, how do you handle it?
I think it's a valid point, and I think ArcelorMittal's already started addressing it through diversity training and really trying to sensitize the entire workforce, about different people's needs and to respect it as well. So, yeah, I know at a stage there was a strong drive to get everybody through the diversity training to make sure that we've got a good base to work from. So yes, no, it has been addressed already. Yeah.
What we've done in terms of assisting individuals with their cultural diversity and getting to understand that, we've got a number of projects that we run across Africa, but this is specifically at the graduate level. And then they have to work together in teams across different functions, so you would not necessarily just have an engineer or a person from marketing, but it's multifaceted across different regions, and that is the quickest way that they get to understand which cultures operate differently from the one that they know.
I think it's a good point that you raised as well, and Werner, you can also testify to our KMPs that we have. We've got a system called knowledge management programs. So on an annual basis, we have our local KMPs. We from a specific, let's say, field of study, we get the people together and we share ideas between the different plants. However, we also have our international KMP, and I think that's really where we start realizing or appreciating the culture differences. Because I think in South Africa, we start to disregard different cultures. Once you start engaging with people like the French, the people from Spain, you start to realize, accents it's not just a South African thing. It really goes intercontinental. So, and then it really, I think it sheds a bit of light on that. And Werner, you've been involved with a few of the KMPs, and you sit in this section where you actually work across different departments. So I think you've got a lot of exposure in that as well. So yeah.
Can I just ask, with the generational theory, obviously currently with the Rising Stars, we have a mentor working with a young person. Is there work also done to help develop the person that has been mentored to help to understand the next generation coming up? Because obviously you're lining up for management positions and leadership. Now, if you're understanding the generation above, but you don't understand the generation coming through as a leader that's going to be leading young people, is that covered, and how do you handle that?
Yeah,
Was it horse before the cart?
Yeah, as I said, the company that we use is Tomorrow Today. The name just come up. And we try to, when you put someone in a coaching, mentoring position, all the parties involved in that process, you need them to understand, how do I think, and how do you think, and what is the things that is how you live, that is how you work, and that is how I am. So you try to address it there. But I think, valid from your side is that you actually need to enroll it across the business. Because especially, like say, in the management team, I got a diversity that's important to me. And there could be misunderstanding between us. So we didn't roll out the training on that level for the whole workforce into leadership positions. It is actually because the investment that we've made, I mean, a bursary, one bursary, the cost for us is R500,000 per person, just university cost. It's a huge investment that we make in these individuals, so you want to succeed. So the focus areas currently are on them, but I think it's a very good thing to maybe in the management team, the manager of people, the manager of managers, to actually have that. I think it will add value. But currently it's not rolled out in that. It's only in our coaching and mentoring programs. Not all parties involved in that.
I just get your feeling on, I've got this for me a theory is that conflict is not always a bad thing. It's how the conflict is managed. So with this cultural integration, sometimes the conflict helps you to learn things without leaving stigmatism and without leaving a bad taste in your mouth, so that you actually grow through it. But now that obviously puts a lot of priority on whoever is heading up and doing the management of this, because you can go south very quickly if it's not handled, or if you've got you're brought up with particular. And in South Africa, that is it's a big challenge.
Yeah. What we have is, in order to assist us with that, is like these youngster forums, as I said, the Young Professional Forum and the Engineer Technician Association. So when they get together in a group, it's very, they will share engineering principles and projects and things that they've done, but also things that's not going well in the company. So there's a lot of moaning and groaning, and you put everything in a pot. And then you have mentor committee meetings where all the mentors will come together, and once a month we will talk about the youngsters, and this one got an attitude problem, and so you will discuss again. And then myself and my colleague there at the back are involved in those meetings, and then you try to find middle ground on what we can do and how to resolve it, and you learn. You know, so yeah, you will have that high conflict in the line, but you also give them a forum as a soft landing to go with the culture of the company and what's up. Okay, I don't know if one of my young colleagues sitting here, how do you experience on the mentee side? Maybe to share with the group.
Oh, sorry, we were just asked to use the microphone. So whenever somebody's got a question, please just quickly raise your hand, and I'll hand you the microphone then.
Would one of you like to comment?
Okay, good morning everyone. I'm an engineer at ArcelorMittal. I was a bursary student, and when I first started, I was assigned a mentor and a supervisor. Okay, my mentor, his role with my growth in the company was basically not technically to assist me, but as an individual, personally, with respect to my personal life, balancing work and life. We spoke about emotional intelligence. So I had a lot of help from him. He was quite an experienced guy. He was, I think, closer to retirement age. But we developed a good relationship, and I looked forward to our meetings with him. And with respect to my supervisor, he was a senior engineer. So when I got to the plant, he was in the role as a senior engineer. He was about 35, between 35 and 40 years old. And he was technical, so that's where I got the technical side from. Okay, so I think having a mentor and having a supervisor held me in good stead. Okay, for the 2 years that I was in training. Okay, and in that 2 years, after graduating from the technical program, it was another 2 years, and then I was appointed as senior engineer. So I think it was a good experience, and I think that the program that we have running is very, very good.
I think maybe just to add to that as well, is a lot of times the mentors aren't in your plant. They're actually from different departments. So it's really to make sure that there's always an outside-in perspective to the what subject then.
For time purposes, I'm quickly going to read 2 success stories to you. And then you can also look in your the front page of your brochure. These are our learners that came through this program. So go and read. I also want to give Brandon a chance to speak, and the time is running out. So I'm not going to read this, Brandon, but please go and read this and see what is the feedback of the youngsters that came through this program. So finally, and arguably the most important, is the changing shift in talented young people's thinking. The next generation is marked by fluidity of their movement between roles and organizations, and top talent is highly sought after. And according to this tranche of the population, rate prospective employers by their own criteria, and gone are the days of a job for life, and our potential employees are increasingly concerned with transparency, ethics, and CSR commitments. So we really don't want our people to move on. We'll give them the opportunity to develop. We really, if they want to go on courses, we support them in terms of bursary programs. I know Brandon is going to study his MBA next year. I don't know, but you really want to engage the young talent, and the young talent wants to learn a lot. They want to develop them. And the company really assists them. If it so happens, especially in unstable times like now, and newspapers, articles that you get about the company, that is negative. But there's nothing that we can do about it, and the whole model is based on stable times. But even in unstable times, I think we retain our talent. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Brennan.
Great, thank you, Andre. So the idea was to just quickly give a run through of what ArcelorMittal is doing, and then also to take a candidate and said, okay, well, we can actually look at my timeline and say, okay, well, where was CSR really involved in my development? And really, and I was quite fortunate, and I said, okay, I think probably the best way to look at it is to really plot it on the timeline to see, CSR, even through school bursaries and stuff like that, it really actually, people and companies already start investing in you at a very early age. So if I just quickly look at it, I started my high school career in 2001 at Ferrum High School, and Ferrum High School originated through CSR initiatives back in the ESCOR days. So even though they didn't necessarily give me a bursary, however, the legacy of CNI initiatives really outlived the actual initiative itself. So, like I say, ESCOR has long ago already broken their ties with Ferrum High School. However, they like I say, brought a facility, they developed a facility that actually enabled future generations to go and study. Then, after completing high school, I got a full bursary from ArcelorMittal as well to go study mechanical engineering. And also, after completing the engineering program, I joined the ArcelorMittal Graduate and Training Program. Also, during this time, I was given the opportunity to pursue my studies on postgraduate level. I completed my master's in engineering management development. And even though ArcelorMittal didn't give a direct bursary for this, I was still in the position to get bursaries from the university itself. However, ArcelorMittal facilitated this whole process by allowing me to take actual work-related cases and really align it with my studies. Also, they gave me the necessary leave and flexibility to make sure I can still balance my work responsibilities with my study responsibilities then. Also, during my time so far with ArcelorMittal, I started in the end of 2009. Yeah, and I think my colleagues here can support this. We really sent on a great number of training courses. And I must say, I've really been in a position, I've never once, motivated a training program and it was turned down. So really, if there's a need and it can be aligned with your responsibilities, ArcelorMittal will back you on that. Okay. And then, as Andre mentioned earlier, I've got into the Gibbs MBA program as of next year. And ArcelorMittal has given the opportunity to really support financially in terms of interest-free study loans, and also, again, giving me the necessary study leave and work flexibility to really balance the study requirements, obviously, with the work. Okay, then I said the last dot, I left it open. So, seeing it's still here, and I think my colleagues can vouch for it as well, we know we've got the backing, and we're really excited to see where the future is going to take us in this thing. Okay, then if we step over to the next slide, please, Andre. Then we also said, okay, well, if we look at future employers, what does CSI actually tell us about these employers? And I headed this thing and said, well, with the highest degree of inequality in South Africa, CSI is not just a compliance issue, but it's really a matter of shaping the environment in which you operate. So I first said, okay, well, the first point I want to touch base on is it's really testimony of the company's ethical values. And if you look at it, I mentioned it earlier when Andre presented his stats. You've got a certain, like I say, value system, and a company's got a certain value system. And how do you want to align these two? So if I look for a future employer, I need to make sure that there is alignment between what I think is right and just and what the company really promotes. Then, how do we form part of the national agenda? And I also touched on this topic already and said, well, we sit in the country with the highest Gini rating. So, are we really just focusing on maximize earnings, or are we actually investing in the environment in which we operate? And we've seen the financial spend already just in the past year. Then if we look at, my third point is, we look at sustainability and how effective is it. So if I look at a company needs to realize that in order for it to succeed in what it's doing, it needs to realize that it operates in a bigger environment. And how do they actually contribute to that? And I think if we look at the mining houses, they're good examples of this. You can only have an effective workforce if you really accommodate the needs of these workers. For instance, healthcare schemes for these guys. If they're not medically fit, how do you expect them to really produce at 100% on your on your facility? Company confidence. So I think that's probably a topic to also to highlight a bit. Is when you invest in corporate social initiatives, you clearly have the necessary confidence to think that, okay, well, I'm going to make an impact in the environment. I think being a young, driven individual, you want to associate with a company where you believe you can actually make a change and really have an impact in not just your own life, but also in the community in which you operate. And then lastly, second to last is collaboration and dedication. And Andre has mentioned the YPF in Newcastle, the Young Professional Forums, and the ETA in Vanderbijl. So this just tells us a little bit of what are the the additional efforts that the people invest in the company. For instance, the YPF is involved with all these science center initiatives. They also act as tutors for the students of the science center. So it really just shows a bit of the company has actually got a bit more dedication than your run-of-the-mill company then. And then lastly is the positive perception. You know, what does the public really think of you? Are you a company that disregard, the values and quality of other people? Or do you want to be associated with a company that actually cares and is there to make a difference? So there's just a bit about brand recognition and association there. Okay. So that brings me to the end of my, I think, 6 factors that I look for in a company when I look for a future employer then. So anybody would like to add something to this? Okay.
Looks like the students turned into gold.
It's still a very challenging environment. Like Andre's already said, it's it's really a tough environment to operate in, but yet very rewarding if you get it right. Yeah.
Maybe a question.
Yes.
How do you, what practical things are you doing to attract females to this very male-dominated?
Just good handsome guys.
For one.
Always good.
No.
Especially when it's not sexy.
Well, okay, I must add to that. There's always still the support roles that keeps a company going. You know, typically we still need our financial people, we still need the accountants, legal people. However, if we look at it from a technical perspective, I can just quickly refer to our brochure. If we look at the face of ArcelorMittal, and there's quite a few pictures of females operating in the technical environment. And I can take Utica for instance. She's our product manager, and also she's not the type of person that really wants to get down and dirty with everything. However, she's still a technically inclined person. So how do we accommodate her? And she's currently our product manager. So she on the metallurgical, metallurgical theoretical work, and So she retains a, like I say, technical background, and she still operates in, let's say, a bit more cleaner environment then as well. However, it's a matter of appetite. If somebody's not really going to enjoy that particular environment, it's not something it's not a place that you really want to go and, like I say, put that person in there.
What is your ratio in terms of male, female at these technical centers that you use in order to bring them into your pipeline?
Do you have the, Cecilia, from the top of your head, what's the percentage?
Are you talking about all the whole engineering, the females? I will say females is 30%.
30%, I was on 30%. But what you try to do is also to target predominantly female private schools. You tell them you've got the opportunity for them to develop, but they need to be well aware of the environment and also the inherent job requirements. If you go into your artisan production workforce, you need physical strength. So as part of the selection process, they need to do a physical ability test to see if they got the strength to pick up a tool this size that you really must pick up if you want to move it. But on the engineering and technician side, you don't need that physical strength. And the electrical and mechanical, yeah, there's quite a few women. And as Brendan said, if you look at the faces, it's all women and they are doing well.
I think an important aspect of your marketing yourself as a company is not to accentuate the fact that it's a dirty environment. I think let the women select or deselect themselves, because they might prefer to work in there, but when you condition them by saying to them, look, it's not a clean environment, it's already putting them off. And in any event, I think women are far more multi-skilled and far more able to do dirty work. I mean, we just don't look around. They can do it. It might not be heavy that they're doing, but they are doing dirty work and sometimes also heavy work. I've seen women driving huge trucks, etc., etc. So I don't think we must scare them off.
I personally think also, some of the women that's working for us, if you have an arm wrestling here, you will not win. So I don't question the ability of women at all, but on the other side of the coin is we also had women before that we done a huge investment, and they were extremely not happy with the area. They just wanted to go out and they said they didn't know about this. But both sides are there. So the person that really want to work for a company, as I say, you must know you must have steel in your veins, and you will keep that steel forever.
And that's why with our selection process, we changed it. We've got actually induction program now. We usually show them videos of the company, what the job entails and so on, and then they can make a decision if they want to proceed.
I noticed you had a very first slide. You had an aging workforce. What have you guys done in terms of succession planning for that aging workforce?
Okay, on the aging workforce, Wade, especially on the technical side, as I said, we've done a workforce plan up to 2021, and our whole pipeline is based on that. I mean, for engineer, it takes us 6 years to train an engineer. So 6 years from now, we know who's going to retire, and those people already started at university this year, and the intake for January. The same with the technicians. The production workforce, the production learner pipeline that we have is all to cater for that retirees that's going to happen in 4 years. And in the ideal world, you would pair a person that's coming from university with that person as a skills transfer. It doesn't always happen like that. And but the whole training pipeline is based on the aging workforce and the average value in terms of turnover.
Sorry, Andy, just to touch on your question. Okay, I'm also a mechanical engineer at ArcelorMittal. Okay, I'm also a mechanical engineer at ArcelorMittal, but just to touch on your question, what actually happens is you are actually putting succession planning for the next position, but that happens with your direct line manager. And if it's an agreement that you want to actually become a maintenance manager or the next plant manager, you put onto a succession planning of if this person has to retire, then you are the next in line to succeed in that position. So that's how a lot of our positions in our plant, there's a direct face attached to each position in our company.
Just from the same question, I'm interested to know how you deal.
Thanks.
I'm interested to know how you deal with the perceived threat to the aging workforce, because often that becomes a very challenging environment to interact and even have a fruitful skill transfer between a young talent as well as the aging workforce, so to say.
Can I maybe take this one out? Okay, great. Thank you. Maybe just to talk to really speak out of personal experience, and we've also had a recent Canada engineer starting in our division, and the first thing we actually tried to teach him was to gain the trust of people, because that's the very first thing that's going to enable you to have that skill transfer between you, older workforce and the younger people coming in. So really, in order to gain that trust is have your ducks in a line, in a row. So you need to understand your technical background. Whenever you go to, when you approach these people, show that you have the necessary interest in what they're doing, and also that you have the necessary technical backing to support whatever you're recommending. Yeah. And even if it takes, at the beginning, it takes a little bit of extra effort to really bridge that like I say, trust barrier. But once you've established that trust between, and that relationship between the older people and yourself, then I think it's an organic process. The knowledge transfer happens spontaneously. Yeah. I think that's out of a personal experience. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Andre?
I think it's a challenge, because you will get many older people that doesn't want to transfer the skills. But what we're also planning, but this is not realizing currently, but is what you call the twilight career. So if you still got 2-3 years to go, then we will give you an incentive to transfer your skills, and the assessment of the skills of the transfer will, your incentive will depend on that to make sure it happens. But currently, that is not running due to financial difficulty. Are there anything else?
Okay, just looking at the timeline, we have to start wrapping it up. We have to be downstairs at 15:15. So, any closing comments before we dismiss?
Okay, I just want to say to Wahid, you don't have a successor plan yet, Wahid. You're too young.
Yes, in the development plan, obviously with young people, and especially when families start coming into the picture, how do you support that? Because that's obviously a big part of balance, and you can make a choice that you're going to only get married a lot later, but for people who maybe choose to have a family, how do you bring that balance in? How do you support that?
Okay, I think, okay, I'm just going to, I try to relate it to the environment I come from. The people are very, I can say, considerate for your, let's say, your personal, like I say, personal and work responsibilities. So we even have it in our section where some people choose to come in a bit later, but they work later hours to first, like I say, meet all their family requirements. So I think ArcelorMittal is flexible enough to actually accommodate your needs. And also, I think it's also your own responsibility when you enter any career is to realize you've got certain, like I say, goals and objectives to meet, and yeah, you can't be overruled by your personal objectives. So I think it's always important to still put it in perspective and be realistic about what people expect from us.
Just to add on that, Brandon, we have, for example, conversion programs where we have high talented, let's say, blue collar employees, and we want to convert into the package category employees or the white collars, like your artisans that will become technicians. Now what we do is we bring the University of Technology to the plant, where every day the company will release them from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 5. So it's 2 hours company time and 2 hours private time, where that person will sit, but we bring the lecturers to them to ensure that they do that. We give them time to study and to do their homework for that conversion. The company also make provision for study leave if you want to do postgraduate qualifications, to give you time off for that. So the leave policies makes provision for that to support you, also in terms of study. So we try to assist. And then also just to add on what it's one of the companies that I must say, if your child is doing athletics and you just want to go for that hour quickly, company doesn't have an issue. You got your targets, you know, can you leave your workplace? Obviously, if there's a breakdown or something that you can't leave, that is besides the point. But under normal circumstances, they don't have an issue. They're allowed to do that. Also, flexi-time policy. So I must say that is one of the big things that also engage me, because if you quickly need to go to the doctor or quickly need to support your child there, it helps.
Just on that, it's part of the value system. So again, what Ben was saying, marrying up your values as an individual to what the company values is, when you see that, how should I say, that merges between the two. Depends on how long you as an individual will actually be with that company because of that value system.
Yeah. That was good, because as an employer, we get people who've got guides, basically go from single to get married, and suddenly now your weekends become a different thing, which is a big part of our business. So that means that you've got a period that you need to then train, raise that person to a standard or management system where you can then bring in other people, and they realize that they've got to bring other time and value to be able to replace the time that they can no longer, fulfill some of the responsibilities, but they've got to come through in other areas.
But just a closing comment, sorry. Also what they do is, in terms of our information technology, they make you portable. I mean, if the work phones me now, I can link up and my office is right here. I have a phone, I have my technology, I can do it. So if it so happen that you must be at home with your family or whatever the case may be, and your work environment is such that you can do it from home. I mean, even if you get call-outs at night, you can log in from home and you can try and fix your area. And, I think you can tell us more about that, but I mean, I've experienced that as well. I can see the whole process from my machine, and I can fix it from there without going out. So they really support us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. If there's no more questions.